I can't believe I'm recording this video. I truly can't believe that I'm recording this video. As what I guess you could call a longtime Cwicly user, I have experienced many emotions this week. I'm shocked, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, and to be frank, I'm a little bit mad. Since I've been pretty vocal about using Cwicly, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me about my thoughts on the whole situation, and I wanted to give it a few days to let things settle because I know emotions were running a little bit high. But we're a few days out now. I've had some time to think about it, and I'm going to try my best to make sense of everything that went down and why I think this is one of the worst things to happen to the WordPress community in a long time. First, let's start with some context so you know where I'm coming from. I consider myself one of the core Cwicly users. I've been using it since 2022. I have a Built with Cwicly notice on my website footer. I visited the forum on 568 different days. I've read 9,000 posts, and it says my total read time is 2 days. 2 whole days of my life I've spent on the Cwicly forum. I was basically a Cwicly poster boy at WordCamp US last year, chatting about components at 2 a.m. on the backyard patio, and I built my freaking wedding website using Cwicly. So I think it's safe to say I was fully bought in. The reason I made the jump from Oxygen to Cwicly is because I loved how forward-thinking it was. Sure, it had its quirks, but it was perfectly aligned with where WordPress is heading. It wasn't fighting against Gutenberg. It made it usable and actually a very enjoyable experience. And if that wasn't enough, it was pushing features that no other page builder has even dared to touch before. Components and a Tailwind integration are both a Cwicly first. They were built so well too. It wasn't like a half-baked alpha version. It pretty much had everything you could think of, which leads me to the next point. Louis might have been the most talented developer I have ever seen in my life. He had a bold vision and executed on it like a madman. When I'd see how much he could get done in a month, it always made me question if he actually slept or not, and what the heck was I doing wrong? He was relentless, but his positive traits didn't just end on the technical side of things. He was so good at listening to the community. He was kind and always treated everyone with the highest level of respect. He provided highly detailed answers whenever someone had a question. He was the kind of guy who, if he called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to chat about something?" I would have booked a flight and flown over to Spain the next day. I'm not even joking. I couldn't think any more highly of him and the rest of the Cwicly team. I was in absolute shock the first time I read it. I was actually in my car driving home from Toronto, and when I saw the email, I pulled over and stayed on the side of the road for at least half an hour. This announcement is so unfortunate in so many ways. I'm really not a fan of speculation, but because communication has been so minimal to this point, and it's all we really have to go off of, we're going to need to throw in some what-ifs out there. Unfortunately, one of the key components to this was Louis thinking with a clear mind? We don't know what's going on in his personal life, so I want to make it clear that a lot of my thoughts could change if more information eventually comes out. My fiance is a therapist, so I've become very aware on how decision-making can be heavily influenced when you're under a certain emotional state. So I think it's something that we should keep in mind. But since saying, "Oh, he's depressed and wasn't thinking clearly" is an assumption in itself, I want to try my best to just go off the facts and go off of what we have available to us. Given that the very first line of the announcement was, "After much deliberation and soul searching, I've made the difficult decision to discontinue the development of the Cwicly plugin," it gives the impression that this decision wasn't just made on a whim. It goes on to say, "This decision has been deeply influenced by recent events that have profoundly affected both me personally and the team." This to me is the most cryptic part of the announcement. I feel like there is something we don't know about. I saw someone on Facebook mention that someone was possibly attacking him and his family members. I'm not sure where this occurred because I didn't see it, but I did do some digging and I discovered that the only page missing from the Cwicly website, aside from the homepage of course, is the About Us page. So I do wonder if there's something there. Assuming that there was something said, there's honestly no room for that kind of behavior. It's disgusting and sad and should just never be tolerated. Then we get into the parts of the announcement that feel a little more eyebrow raising. Unfortunately, the relentless onslaught of destructive posts and comments by certain WordPress influencers has created an atmosphere that has made it increasingly challenging for us to continue with our vision for Cwicly. As someone whose algorithm constantly feeds him with Cwicly related topics, I can't say I really know what this is referring to. Was it David's article pondering why Cwicly hasn't caught on faster? Was it Kevin who respectfully calls Cwicly the #2 page builder, debating whether Tailwind has a place within WordPress? That doesn't quite line up to me, and in fact, I actually find it quite hurtful. I've seen many attacks thrown at Kevin in speculation that he was the cause of Cwicly's demise. Or David posted a thread about feeling bad, hoping that the decision didn't have to do with him. That can't be a great feeling. And sometimes I hope that it wasn't any of the feedback that I gave. Since the launch of Cwicly, not only have we had to build our product, but have suffered the constant undermining of our choice to embrace the WordPress vision in Gutenberg. I mean, yeah, but that's more so on Gutenberg than it is Cwicly. And it's pretty par for the course anytime a new product comes in and tries to change the way things are done. In addition, personal attacks on both myself and team members have been made and openly tolerated throughout. Again, this part is not up for debate. It should just never be tolerated. The negativity and hostility directed towards Cwicly, especially in comparison to other page builders, have taken a significant toll on our morale and motivation. And the next bit goes on to talk about how they've lost motivation on the project. As an outsider, this feels questionable. Was there some critical feedback? Yeah, sure. But there wasn't anything abnormal. I've seen WordPress, Gutenberg, Elementor, and other page builders get it far worse. I'd say it was like 90% positive and maybe 10% critical from what I saw. That being said, everyone perceives feedback a little bit differently. It kind of reminds me of this story I have with my barber, where as a web guy, I was looking at her Google My Business profile, and the next time I saw her, I was like, wow, you have a lot of reviews. I wasn't expecting that many. And she's like, oh, really? I was like, what do you mean, oh, really? You have 154 5-star reviews. You didn't know this? She's like, well, I used to look at my reviews, and then one time I got a 1-star review because I didn't cut the guy's hair around his ear, and it kept me up all night, so I just don't look at them anymore. And I feel like that probably has a lot of similarity to what happened here. Even though the feedback was pretty wildly positive as a whole, any negative factors slowly build up, and sometimes you just get the one that makes you snap. That is honestly what I think happened here. After a slow buildup, something snapped. That's it. It's over. If you look at the forum, they were responding to posts 2 days before the announcement talking about exciting plans for the future. Literally just the week before, they published an A+ new navigator panel. Usually when you lose motivation, it fades over time. You don't publish for a week, then it's 2 weeks, then you're officially burnt out. I think something caused them to snap. I've seen people pretty certain that Cwicly died because they weren't making a ton of money. Personally, I don't feel that this was the case. It may have been one of the negative pressures, but I don't think it was a significant one, and here's why. For one, money was never really part of the discussion. In my 9,000 posts viewed, they never talked about needing more money. It felt like their vision was set on building a great product and having it grow alongside the growth of Gutenberg. Another point here is that last year, Cwicly actually planned on releasing a free version to attract new users. I had asked Louis about this in a recent live stream, and he said something along the lines of, we've actually been seeing a good amount of new users, so we're scrapping the idea of a free version for now. From an outside perspective, you might do the math and say, oh, well, they weren't making much money. But I think they were fine with where they're at, or at least it wasn't the reason to pull the plug on the whole thing. Lastly, if it were about the money, would you just spend years of your life working on a product and then suddenly just end it? No, you'd sell the damn thing. Would you spend months developing a Tailwind integration and close shop before users really got a chance to build sites with it? No, I don't think it's about the money. The announcement says, I want to express my sincere gratitude to our loyal users who have supported us throughout this journey. Your unwavering support has meant everything to us, and it deeply saddens me to have to make this decision. It is with a heavy heart that we have reached this conclusion, especially considering the innovative features we had planned for the future. However, given the circumstances, we believe it is the best course of action for all parties involved. This is the part of the video I hate making. This is the part where I turn sour. We believe it is the best course of action for all parties involved. This is the best course of action for all parties involved? Well, let's look. Cwicly is dead. The customers are screwed. Trust in any of Louis' future projects? Decimated. Trust in other indie makers? Threatened. Trolls? Moving on to the next one. This is the worst course of action for all parties involved. In a response to a minority of haters, you completely decimate your loyal followers. The people who have been supporting you, providing you with their constructive feedback, creating bug reports, and sharing your product. Done. It's basically like saying, oh, you've spent months building sites with our product? Cool. They're worthless now. I hope you enjoy spending months rebuilding them for free. This is the worst course of action for all parties involved. The sunk cost isn't the cost of the subscription. So many human hours went to waste, it's hardly fathomable. Hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain. And to make things worse, they shut down all main communication lines with their customers. The Discourse forum was closed, Facebook group closed. I've reached out to Louis personally through Messenger and email and haven't heard anything back. They completely left us in the dumps. It felt like a betrayal. I've been so frustrated by the events, I've had thoughts about leaving web design altogether. Obviously, that's a little bit radical, but I hate logging into my website right now. How am I supposed to get excited about building something that might just screw me again? Sadly, it's not just the Cwicly customers that got screwed. When I'm thinking about moving things over to a new builder, do you think I'm feeling pretty confident about rebuilding everything with another niche tool like GreenShift or Buildarius or Pinegrow or Bricks or whatever else? Whether you want to admit it or not, this announcement has shattered the confidence of using niche products. Small teams involved with their community building great products. Our brains are hardwired to avoid making the same mistake twice. Quickly closing up shop sends a signal to our brain that says we can't trust these kinds of products anymore. It's unfair and it's damaging to the community. This is the worst course of action for all parties involved. I've seen some people mention maybe they just weren't cut out for entrepreneurship, and that's okay. I don't think that's okay. Imagine a friend asks you to come over and babysit their 2-year-old child. Halfway through, the baby's kicking and screaming and throwing stuff everywhere. You can't just say, you know what, I'm not cut out for this, and peace out. You need to see it through. It is your responsibility. You don't have to babysit again, but you need to either make it to the end or get someone else to help you. When you are creating a tool that people base their entire professional career around, you're inheriting this kind of responsibility. Obviously, not the same level as babysitting a 2-year-old, but you are providing the foundation that sites and businesses are built on. I want to make this 100% clear. It is totally fine for people to feel demotivated, stressed out, burnt out, and not want to work on their product anymore. Their happiness and mental health is always above any kind of business venture. They have every right to exit. All that we ask for as customers is a path of continuity. You want out of your business? Totally cool. Please just don't screw us over. There were a few ways for this to happen. First, they could have hired or partnered with a new developer to take things over. This is essentially what happened with Oxygen, which was, of course, very well publicized. The original developer, also happened to be named Lewis, decided he wanted to build a more beginner-friendly page builder, eventually called Breakdance. He handed things off to Elijah to manage, and they've basically just been maintaining the builder on autopilot since then. Of course, most I Heart Oxygen users weren't super happy with that because it meant Oxygen would never become this page builder that people envisioned, but at least the builder is still very much usable. I still have some sites that are on Oxygen, and I have no issue with them. I was joking with a friend the other day, but this Cwicly situation is far worse than that Oxygen fiasco. This one feels worse because it's a full breakup. Website's gone, forum is read-only, Facebook group is read-only, couldn't log into your account initially. Oxygen was kind of like, you can call me and we can hang out, but I'm seeing another guy. Second, they could have tried to sell the company. This is sometimes easier said than done, but I know for a fact that there are companies that would have loved to get their hands on Cwicly. Heck, even I would have tried to put something together. The product is just too good to take to the grave. Lastly, they could have open sourced the software. There's no guarantee that this would work, and getting a leadership team organized and acquainted with how things work would definitely be tricky. But you know what it does? It at least presents an option. There's a possible path forward to maintain the project, and it shows intent to keep the project alive. Honestly, I'm not even sure what I'm doing next. There is no direct comparable to Cwicly, and that's probably what made it so special. Bricks is a fantastic builder and is likely what I'm leaning towards at the moment, but it's a philosophical shift from using the block editor. I'm not sure there's another builder for Gutenberg that matches the power and flexibility that Cwicly had. So for now, I'm deciding to hang tight. I'm definitely going to wait until closer to the end of the year before I even think about rebuilding sites that I had finished with Cwicly. For any new sites, I'll likely go with Bricks or Generate Blocks while I figure things out. Sometimes I just need to remind myself that not every single site needs to be built with the same tool. Even if it's not what I feel will be a long-term solution, I'll definitely more than survive having sites built with Bricks. To Louis and the Cwicly team, if you're watching this, first of all, from the bottom of my heart, I really hope you're doing okay. No one has enjoyed what's taken place over the last week, and I'm sure it hasn't been easy for you guys either. Secondly, it's not too late to fix things. Despite a loud minority, there are thousands of us who loved Cwicly and everything you guys stood for. We would love for nothing more than for you to come back and continue what you started. We'd have to probably put in some safeguards to rebuild some of that trust, but it's still on the table. If you've decided for sure that you need to move on, all we ask for is a clear next step. Some way to keep the builder alive so that we don't need to redo the last 1 to 2 years of our lives. And lastly, we'd also love to hear from you. Communication goes a long way to restoring the peace. I was a little nervous to make this video because there are so many variables at play. We have such little information available that we need to make assumptions. Something could come out tomorrow that makes me say, oh, well, that makes more sense. And if they weren't thinking with a clear mind, I can respect that, and I have the time of day to better understand the situation. I know deep down that Louis and the entire Cwicly team are great people and they care for others. This is what made this entire situation so shocking. It is completely out of character. There's very likely something that we're not aware of. But if there's anything positive to come out of this, I hope it at least sets the precedent that something like this can never happen again. Users, think twice before you say something mean. Just because you're behind a screen doesn't mean that it won't deeply affect the other person. And founders, make a worst case scenario playbook if you don't already have one. Be encouraged to share it transparently with your users, as it'll help to build trust, because protecting users, clients, creators, and other product builders is the best course of action for all parties involved. So that's it for this video. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I always read every single one. If you thought I said anything interesting, it would mean the world to me if you subscribe to my channel. And lastly, I also publish a bi-weekly WordPress newsletter, which you can find at newpulselabs.com/newsletter. Thanks for watching.